That's going to be bad film day for Patrick Queen and Jacob Phillips.
Yes,
because they're
no
running the
doubt.
same plays that they're running in the first half where they hold that offense to 200 yards.
Yeah.
That they're running in the second half. I mean, they weren't changing the play calling. Rich Rod wasn't changing what
it seemed to me. It seemed to me like a little bit. It did feel like they leaned into just straight up. We're going to run the ball a little more in the second half. Like it felt a little more almost like wing T. Like they kept doing a lot of odd angles in that second half. That wide pitch play, the fake reverse. So like I think they did kind of just say, look, man, we obviously can't. Let's just like go full Rich Rod attack, and LSU didn't handle it well, man. It was terrible.
Teams combined for 1,300 yards of total offense.
Yeah.
I mean, like there was no defense anywhere in sight in that game. That was the third most in an SEC game in the history of the conference.
Wow.
13 and 28 yards, 1,328 yards. LSU put up 714 yards of total offense, which is the second most in program history and the most against an SEC opponent. That was behind the 1977 game against Rice, where LSU put up 746 yards of offense that night. You know who the quarterback was?
Say it. Tell the people.
Insminger.
Slinger.
How about it, man?
As Joe Brady tweeted, there's a reason why they call him Slinger. Steve Insminger's had a hand in like almost every one of LSU's record-setting single-game offensive performances. Remember when he took over as the interim OC and they set records like 5 weeks in a row or whatever it was? And so this does highlight something interesting, Jordy. And let me be clear. I think I'm working off of a vocal minority in a lot of this reaction that I'm getting on Twitter. But if you had just gone by the reaction on Twitter, you would have thought LSU had lost this game. Like you would have absolutely thought they lost this game. And then yet at the end of the day, it's a 21-point win on the road in which you gained over 700 yards and your quarterback threw 5 touchdowns. The only reason I bring that up, it is interesting how quickly we can get spoiled as a fan base. You would have killed just a couple months ago for a quarterback to throw for 480 and 5 scores.
Before you go into this, because I'm anxious to hear what you have to say, are you really surprised by the reaction?
I am shocked by how far it went. I get being frustrated, but you know what it is, and this is all I can make sense of it with. Like, I am shocked because the LSU fan base is a week off of watching this LSU team beat Alabama in Tuscaloosa in the biggest game in a decade, right? A game where everything was on the line, and they went and got it done, and they got it done to the point where Alabama never led and never had the ball with a chance to take the lead. And yet a week later,
TBob, it's Alabama. Give them another shot.
And then a week later, it's like, this team sucks. Yeah. What are we doing? We can't beat Clemson or Ohio State. Which, by the way, that is my biggest pet peeve. Why in the hell are you talking about Clemson and Ohio State? There's a lot of football left to get to before then.
They don't even know the playoff seeds yet.
I mean, you still got to catch. Look, A&M still needs these hands.
Georgia.
Arkansas. Georgia's going to be tough. Like, you may not make the playoff if you lose that SEC championship. So there's a lot of football and a lot that you have to focus on before you start talking about that. Hey, and guess what, Twitter guy? If you play like that against Ohio State, you will lose. But you're not going to play like that against Ohio State. It was an off day. It was an off second half in which you had obviously checked out. And you're going against an offense that is a little gimmicky. It's got a little like wing. It's like when you run up against like a wing T team in high school or something. Like, you're not going to see another offense that does that. And to me, look, this is what else you have to say. The defense is not the strength of this team. This is known. You're not going to win games. Now, the defense obviously plays a part in the big ones, and they have 23-20 Auburn, the perfect second half against Florida. Yes, the defense will have to play well for you to win, but you're going to win games because of the offense. So I'm not overreacting to one game in Oxford. And here's the other thing. You had the 13th ranked rush defense in the nation coming into this game. Okay, so excuse me if I think it's an outlier when one of the best rush defenses in the country, something we have consistently given LSU credit for all year long, something that they have consistently shown themselves to be. Excuse me if I believe that a performance where you give up 400 rushing yards is the exception rather than the rule. So I'm not defending the defense for Saturday, but I have reasons to think why it's an outlier. And I'm also not erasing everything you've done in this 10-0 run up to this point. If all you care about is the destination, if all you care about is the playoffs or trying to win a natty, you're going to be miserable. Have we lost the ability to enjoy the journey? Because this has been fun. 10-0, a 21-point win on the road, and people are acting like the sky is falling? Like it's time to pack it up? Your quarterback just threw for 500 yards and 5 touchdowns and is going to win the Heisman? Chill.
Ogeron,
It's an
the second half differences for Ole Miss.
Well, obviously, they're running the counter, the zone read and stuff like that. Well, man short sometimes. Some guys will miss some tackles. They'll run into sweeps to the outside. They faked the reverse one time. We've been on the reverse. He ran up to the right side. There were quarterback runs. We're going to stop the quarterback runs.
Ogeron talking about his defense's effort.
Now, obviously, 400 yards rushing. I don't know if I've ever been a part of a team that give up 400 yards rushing. So, you don't want that on your football team. So we're going to need to look at it. Need to look at it on film, see where we went wrong, schematically, personnel-wise, technique, whatever it may be. We're going to fix it. The bottom line is, when you win games, you kind of pick things apart and stuff like that. The object is to win the game.
Alabama hangover for LSU?
Well, we started fast. I mean, there was no hangover. There was none of that stuff that, they're talking about this and that. We were ready to play. I mean, we understood coming over here, and they're going to play a lot better at home. And these guys understood what was at stake,
Here, so Adam Hall says, the fans talking about Clemson, Ohio State now are the same reason you were talking about Alabama after the Texas game, before Auburn and Florida, which, to be fair, the show is not, but that's fine. For the team to be as good as the fans want them to be, the defense will need to be good enough to beat one of them, obviously. Duh. But, okay, here's the deal. So, Jordy, if you were to watch, like, you saw the Saints against the Falcons, right? If the Saints play like that, will they win the Super Bowl?
No.
Has a more obvious statement ever been said? If you play like crap, no, you're not going to beat those teams. But to act like the defense has played like crap like that all year long, which a lot of people are in the huddle, is patently untrue. It is just not true. The Texas game is the only other game in which they got dominated like they did last night. Now, they have been inconsistent, and that is worrying, because maybe you do have a night in one of these big games, you just don't have it. I think that their track record in big games this year maybe says otherwise, but like the potential is there. But I still think it's more likely than not that they show up and that they do enough. That they have a game like Florida, where they weren't great all game Florida, but they were when it mattered. You won the Auburn game because of defense. They dominated Utah State and Mississippi State wire to wire. And remember, if not for that final touchdown against Alabama, you have that defense holding Alabama, holding them under 30 points, which was the main goal. Remember, Alabama got a punt return for a touchdown. They had a gimmicky trick play. Like, that was actually a good defensive performance. So, yeah, if you play like you did against Ole Miss, against Ohio State, you'll lose. Shocker. But here's the deal. If you understand how you can have a bad night in athletics, then it's not going to be like that. Like, I fully expect, and you will see, the defense will not play this poorly again for the rest of the season. And that's one thing a game like this is great for, is sometimes kicking you in the ass and making you focus in again.
So the defense's effort on Saturday night seemed putrid, right? No silver lining here. They were 2 of 12 on third downs was Ole Miss's offense, even though John Rice Plumlee was running all over the place. So there's the defensive performance from Saturday in Oxford. Offensively, records were falling all over the place. We'll get to them next year and off the bench.